everybody. We are back. I am so excited for this session. Again, we're going to give everybody a few minutes, start trickling in, coming over from the booze and the networking. Hope is so excited. She just can't stand herself. She needs everybody in here right now. Um, but I am telling you guys, here's two things you need to know about this session. One, if you need to learn about federal resumes from anyone in this world, you have the person in this room telling you about them. So if you can't learn it from her, you can't learn it at all, and you might as well give up. I'm just kidding. Anyway, here's the thing. This woman has so much energy and is such a light that if that doesn't rub off on you, you might want to check your pulse. So I am so excited for you to hear from Hope White. She is a super expert in the field of federal resumes, and she is just a light and is bringing energy to my room. I hope she brings it to yours. I know she will. But without any further talking from me, here's Hope.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm excited to be here. I'm going to use my time wisely and make sure that I get as much information as I can. So my name is Hope White. I am a service-connected disabled veteran. I am Army all the way. Now, how long will it take for the Marines to tell me they're Marines? Usually about 2 seconds. Anyway, I can't resist that. So, what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is something that is very important to me. I've been doing it for about 20 years in the metro Atlanta area, especially, and only pretty much the last 2 or 3 years, I don't even know how long it's been, on, online, on Zoom. And so, my goal is simply to inform you about the federal hiring process and get rid of some of the myths and to change your mind about the way you think about the federal hiring process. So then, many people say it's terrible, it's awful. Why do they have all these things you have to do and on and on? The reason why it's confusing is because no one's ever walked you through it. That's just like anything else. If no one ever tells you that this is the way to do something, then you just don't know. So you're just going out there, you're playing checkers and they're playing football. I didn't mean to make it that bizarre because that's what's going on. If you're trying to get a federal job, the way you get a job outside in the real world in small, medium, large corporations, then of course that's not the way to do that, and you probably have had very little success. So the first thing you should know about this process is that it was created off of a system by the Office of Personnel Management, and it's called classification. I love classification. I learned it in 1992 when I went into the military as an HR specialist. And it's important that you understand about classification as well, because that is the system that rules the world in the federal space. So the Office of Personnel Management, they put the system in place originally back in like 1923 and updated again in 1949. The whole premise for it is equal pay for substantially equal work. It means that, number one, we want to make sure that qualified people are in the federal government. Don't give me any trouble about that. I am a federal worker and I'm very excellent at what I do. I know that we all encounter some people who are not that way, who work for the federal government, but that's any industry. What I'm saying is that my goal is to put in place people who are more than competent to do the jobs that they're going after. That means you need to understand what the jobs are. There are 343 jobs in the federal government. So if you've just decided to just be one, you're already off into a different place you don't need to be. And the reason why I say this is because we get stuck on titles. Title is a title. What we're looking at is your skills, your knowledge, your abilities, and your experiences that you're bringing to the table. All of those things can be applied to multiple job series. I know I've been in and out of the federal government because I know the process. I have yet to have the exact same title or job series or grade. So, my point is once you understand how to navigate, you really can navigate. This is the largest employer in the United States. And on top of all of that, it's the most stable job market you can ever find. What that means is when everyone was losing their jobs, and even now the tech companies are letting people go and huge layoffs, that doesn't really happen in the federal government. If anything, right now, we are understaffed. So we are always looking. The problem with getting people in the door are the resumes, simply the resumes. It's not that you're not qualified or underqualified, it's that you don't know how to communicate your qualifications in a federal resume that gets you through the process. So then that's where a person like me comes into play. I explained to you from the beginning, there's a lot of myths. Number one myth, there's an ATS, an automated tracking system. There is no automated tracking system. USA Jobs is basically a big repository. It has all of our documents and all of our resumes in there. But you will see if you've ever applied for a job, eventually, once you say, okay, you upload everything, this little folder comes up on the screen like this. It's taking you to the other agency and taking your documents as it goes. There is no system that is reading the keywords that you put into your resume. Mm-mm. It's this group of people that people don't know about and hardly ever talk about and rarely see. They're called classifiers. They usually have a specialty in classification and compensation. That is basically determining that you're qualified and then determining how much you should get paid for it. So that's your first group of people that you have to get past. What I do is I show you how to get past me. I am the worst with a federal resume. I will rip it apart, tear it apart, but I will also tell you how to put it back together again so that it makes sense, so that you're proving that you're qualified for the job. So that's pretty much what I want to change your mind about. All these little things that are out there. There are so many people who tell me, they applied for a job and they never heard anything, and it was because of discrimination. I'm so sorry to tell you this, but it wasn't. It was simply because you didn't qualify for the job on paper. That's it. In the first phase of things, nobody can discriminate against you. All we're doing is comparing your resume with the qualifications for the job. Now, if you chose to leave a whole bunch of things out and didn't tell us, we can't assume that you have it. I can't assume because you have a PhD that you know how to write. If you don't tell me you know how to write and that you know how to speak because you gave me an example of a presentation that you gave, or a paper that you wrote, or something that you edited, a standard operating procedure that you edited. If you don't tell me those things, I just do not know. I can't assume anything about you. We're not going out to LinkedIn to look at your profile. Mm-mm. We are reviewing the resume that you submit. Our job is not to go and review your supporting documents like a transcript. We review resumes, not your transcript. I'm not going to your resume to look at all the classes that you've taken. They will confirm whether or not the classes that you're identifying in your resume, that you got a C or higher. I can give you credit for that. That means if you took an English composition class, guess what? I can give you some credit for that because you got a C or higher. But if you choose just to type in the name of your college and university and where it's located and your GPA, but you don't fill in there relevant coursework, it's all relevant. Type all of them in there. Why? Because every part of this process is a points game. So if you don't know where the points come from and what it takes to get the points, I'm giving you some of that now. So, where can we begin? The first place everyone begins is USA Jobs. So, let's go to USA Jobs because I want to point out some important things here that you must know in order to get a job in the federal government. You must know it. This is how you get in. They're called hiring paths. If you do not know your hiring paths and you do not know the documents that prove you qualify for these hiring paths, then you have in the past received a notice, an email that said you're out of the area of consideration. Why? Because each one of the jobs that's posted inside of USA Jobs has a list of people who can apply. This is what they look like. All these little symbols, get to know your symbols and what they mean. You also need to have the supporting documents, which means you need to take the time to come here to USA Jobs and scroll down and do what? What do you need to do? You need to read. I know. It's a powerful tool. You need to read. You need to be able to take your time. So give yourself time and go through step by step by step of each one of these to determine if you actually qualify for that hiring path. If you don't qualify for it, move on. Okay, no big deal. But you'll be pleasantly surprised at some of these things. For example, if you are in high school, a trade school, a college, or just a program, in a college or university taking a class, did you know you're a student? Oh my God, amazing. That means that you can apply for student jobs. So you say, well, I'm not in high school. I don't want a student job. Well, student goes all the way up to PhD, right? So there are programs in there that can help you move around in your professional career. You just got to go and look for the information, right? The other part, if you graduated from any of those entities that I just mentioned, a high school, a trade school, that means you're going to get some kind of certification. So if you're in, the OTO program where you're going to Syracuse University to get some kind of specialty certification, you are a student, and when you graduate, you are a recent grad. Yeah. So recent grads. So if you're a regular person, everyday person, you get 2 years from the date on your certificate or on your degree. You're still a recent grad. Veterans, if you look at your date and you subtract, how many years is it? How many years do veterans get as students? Does anybody know the answer? Somebody had to take my class. For veterans, it is 6 years. 6 years from the date on that certificate or that degree that you are considered to be a recent grad. There are lots and lots of programs for students in the federal government because we want to catch you early. Earlier on when you're just getting out of school, just perfecting, getting experience. And so then there's tons of experiences there. So make sure you know all of your hiring paths. That's the first thing I can tell you. Da-da-da-da. Good. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of the detailed information you must know to actually qualify. If you're a veteran, you need to have a DD 214 that people can read, right? If you're a service connected disabled veteran, then guess what you need to have? You need to have a letter. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on 1 minute. Are you okay? This will wait. I will call you back. I'm sorry. That's my kid, and he gets priority. Okay, I'm back. So you need your DD 214 to prove that you are a veteran. It needs to be easily, you can read it. The other part of it is if you have a mistake in your DD 214 and they issued you a DD 215, I recommend, I recommend that you actually put both of them in there. Why? Because everyone's not familiar with DD 215. Sorry. And so you want to have both in there so people can understand that you do have a DD 214 and you are a veteran in any of these other documents. Have them both in there. To prove that you're a service connected disabled veteran, you need to have your SF15, which is right here on the screen, right? Your SF15 completed correctly. It's 2 pages, must be filled correctly. And your letter from the VA stating that you are service connected disabled veteran. Which letter do you need? You can go to eBenefits and get this letter. It needs to be the one for, guess what? Civil employment. It needs to state that you're 10% or more disabled or 30% or more disabled. Never tell anybody your percentage. That's your personal business. But that information is here for you. So likewise, for all of these hiring paths, the information is there for you. You must go and get it. The biggest problem that people have with getting in the federal government is this word that starts with an L. It's a 4-letter ugly word. It's called lazy. It's the word lazy. If you're lazy, you won't get a federal job because it takes some work to get a federal job. The good thing is, once you get a federal job, you basically have the job until you decide to leave. That's if you get through your probationary period, make it through your solid first 3 years, you're untouchable. You heard how hard it is to fire a federal employee. And I know that in the last administration, a lot of people were being fired. What you didn't see behind the scenes is all the people who got money from being fired that way. Why? Because we're protected. Federal employees are protected by the Merit System Protection Board. That's why it's hard to get rid of us once we're there. That means that let's say that you get a $60,000 job. You can have that $60,000 job until you say, I'm ready to leave. That's through retirement or just leaving. So that's $60,000 times what? 10 years, 20 years. And of course, you're going to get an increase, a cost of living increase. There's no guarantee that you're going to get to the next grade level unless, again, you're not lazy. You're willing to do something. The good thing about my system is it doesn't just teach you how to get into the federal government, but it teaches you how to sustain your career long term. That's what you want. You want to know how the system works and how you can stay in it long term and be able to bring other people in. We meet good people all the time that's like, man, they could really use your skill in my unit. I'm sorry, that was the military blurb. In my department. You get what I'm saying, people? So I have a little problem, and I didn't notice it until a few months ago, and it's called discrimination. I do discriminate against a lot of people who are not veteran, and I didn't mean to do it. I just keep putting veteran on everything, and so then other people feel that they can't get involved. So I've decided to take it off everything, and I feel as if most people should. If you're offering your services and what you do to anybody because it can benefit anyone, then you should take that veteran off. But please know, people, please know, underneath everything, the beginning and end of everything that I do is all about veterans, primarily because, well, we're at a greater disadvantage than the other populations. And of course, we're in the other populations because we are the most diverse group there is, veterans. Um, but I noticed that about myself. I was saying, oh, if you were a veteran, blah, blah. Anybody can get a federal job if you follow my strategy. It wasn't created for veterans or anyone in particular, just anybody who wanted to get in. That's what the Office of Personnel Management is talking about. Anybody can get in as long as you follow their rules and understand their process. Anyway, so next thing, you need to know your hiring authorities. The next thing you need to do is you need to choose your jobs. So I'm going to give you a fabulous link here that's going to help you choose your job. So where am I? I am on the Office of Personnel Management's website. I live over here. I love this website. I know. Netflix and chill, but I can just stay here all day on this website. Why? Because it has all the information you need. Number one, this is where classifiers live. This is our section of the website. That means all of our documents are there, which could give you a big hint on what we're looking for, right? Exactly. So we have the Handbook of Occupational Groups and Families because we group jobs in the federal government into families. And underneath those families, we have different job series. We have the Introduction to Position Classification Standards. You don't want to be bothered with that. I can tell you that already. The Classifiers Handbook, dry as can be. You don't want any part of that. The most important thing I can talk to you about right here is the Handbook of Occupational Groups and Families. It has the white collar and the blue collar jobs in there for everyone to see. That means the qualifications for those jobs are in that magical PDF. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. This is what we're really determining qualifies you for the job. I know everyone's used to looking at the vacancy announcement. That's only part of the story. You need the full story to win, right? That's why you need to know about the Handbook of Occupational Groups and Families, because this is our world. This is where we live as classifiers. Okay, so here are the groups, the families. They should be very familiar to you because, well, this is how the jobs are broken down in most scenarios, in most organizations, in most industries. And the reason why you need to know about these is because right underneath here, you see all of these different jobs. These are the official titles or the standard titles for these jobs. That means you may know it by a different name. If you know it by a different name, it's okay. The Office of Personnel Management allows uh, agencies and supervisors and whomever to change the title of the job. What they can't change is the job series. But you need to know the different titles associated with the different job series. Why do you need to know that? Because when you go into the USA Jobs website, it may be called something else. So you need to know what they are. So if we were in my class right now, I would pull up my fabulous little sheet that I created for you to fill out. And I have you fill that sheet out manually. There's no fill-ins because I want you to think it through and go through the process. But you can do that. Get a piece of paper, write down all of your groups, the obvious ones. Like for me, I'm not going into medical anything. I'm not going into veterinarian anything. I'm not doing legal anything. And I'm certainly not an engineer. But what am I? I am, well, I'm 0000 because everyone is. That's the miscellaneous occupational group. There's mysterious things in there. Everyone should look at that. I am HR, definitely HR all day, and I'm definitely 300, which is administrative, and this is administrative and clerical. So yes, the secretary is in there, but you also have there are some of them that go all the way up to 15. So don't sleep on that series. That's the most important one. That's the backbone of the federal government right there under 300. That's where you have your administrative officers, your management and program analysts. That's where they live. So the other part for me, I love contracts. I can do them. I love accounting and budget. I can dive in. Let's do that. So you need to find what's yours. What I don't ever want to do again, for the most part, is this one, the library one. I spent a good amount of my years in libraries, corporate libraries, so it's different from a public library, but I'm kind of not want to do that in the federal government. It's just not the same. So I just scratched that one off. That's not for me. The other one I love is education because I love training. That's it for me. That's the only place that I play. Am I applying for every job on USA Jobs? No. Then you shouldn't be either. You should know exactly the jobs you're going for, and your resume should be geared toward them. So let's talk about the resume. How many do you need? You need one resume, one resume, just one. We're not tailoring. We're not putting together an HR resume and an IT resume. We're putting together one resume. That's your master resume. What does it look like, Hope? Listen, I'm going to tell you something very important right now. The only thing you should be using for your resume is the resume builder inside of USA Jobs. Did she say that? I did. I said, listen, part of the problem why you're not getting through is because you're using some strange, interesting tool that someone gave you. Good intentions, but I'm sorry. You need to be using the OPM resume builder inside of the system because guess what? It was built to tell you what we need to know about you to determine your qualifications. So when you choose not to use it, you lose points. You lose points. You lose the ability to organize things so that we can find them easily to give you the points. You are obviously still thinking about that job out there or those jobs out there in that other world where you're limiting what you're putting in. We don't care how long your resume is. Yes, I said it. Mine is 27 pages. Yes, I said 27 pages because I can't take one of my jobs and qualify for one job in the federal government. Even the one I just left, I can't take that one job and qualify for another job, the same job, because I need all the things I've been doing that made me into the profession that I am, the professional that I am. I need my Burger King job because that's customer service. That was my first legitimate job. I need my library jobs because that's when I learned how to organize myself and other people and do all kinds of interesting research. I learned my leadership skills, my management skills because I ended up being a regional manager at a big four accounting firm. I can't leave all that behind suddenly because someone feels as if I should have a shorter resume. So all those conversations where people tell you you just need to have 5 pages and 7 pages in the federal government, they're saying that because they're not classifiers. They're saying that because they don't understand that you need to give us the content to justify giving you points. And the only way we can do that is by you telling us what you have done on those jobs. So let's talk about something else that's very controversial. Stop paying people to do your federal resumes. Yes, I did say that. I said that because it doesn't matter how many times someone goes into their files and pulls out a resume that's similar to the things that you want to do. They will never be able to put in there everything that you did on that job. And that's what it takes. It takes you sitting down and thinking it through about, what it is that you did on that job and then communicating that in writing in that resume. That's what gets you points. That's what gets you the job. Simple. I know it wasn't simple, but I wanted to make it sound simple. But that's okay. The other part of what I do is I have tons of checklists. I love checklists because I built this all again for veterans, and we need checklists. We need checklists. Tell me what to do and I can do it. Tell me to do this, go to this website, do this. Tell me to do. That's how you get through the process. The checklist, the little corny sheets that I make up, because in the end, you will be able to communicate very clearly what it is you know how to do. And that's all we're interested in, what you can do. What you've done in the past will dictate what you're comfortable doing in the future in the federal government. If you're not one to do public speaking, you don't want to talk to a lot of people, okay, I get that. But haven't you talked to people, whether it was a smaller group or a larger group, at some point in your career, you have to speak. I need to know you can do that. That needs to be in the resume. So I hope you all are enjoying this. I am. So anyway, so let's get to the next part of it. The next part, after we decide on our groups, is we start to scroll down and look at all this fabulous information here. It is not what you think. Every job is not what you think it is. It is not the job it was in the military, and it's certainly not the job you thought it was or it was when you did it in the regular world. I'm saying that because you may see a title, but the job itself is very different in the federal space. For example, if you think about HR things, you think, okay, how about workforce? Isn't workforce typically under HR because that's an HR function? In the federal government, it's not. It's not. Workforce for us is part of psychology. So then, if you just say, I'm going to look at HR and just put HR, you will miss the fact that there's a whole workforce development job series that you could qualify for and may enjoy doing that job. That's why I say you can't be lazy. You got to take your time and go step by step by step. There it is, Workforce Development Series 0142. You got to know your codes, you got to know your series. You got to know your series. If I ever you ever come to my classes, that's part of what we have to do. You got to be able to tell me your job series. What are they? What's your job series? It's like giving your social security number. What's your job series? That is the way people can help you get jobs, period. So let's step away from the federal government into reality. So there's a woman out there, her name is Marisol. Marisol is extremely funny. She puts out a lot of notices on LinkedIn. And one of the things that she came up with, which I think you should take a look on her featured section, is she starts talking about one, your ugly baby, that's your resume, but she also talks about this Spice Girls uh, post she put out there, which is one of my favorites, and I share it all the time. And I share it because it makes perfectly good sense. Because what people do, and I heard this yesterday being said, people come up with, oh, I need help. They ask for help. They ask 5,000 people for help. But what they don't do is tell us how we can help them because they haven't made important adulting decisions like what it is you plan to do. And so if you don't know what you want to do, how about spend some time just figuring out what it is that you want to do? There are enough resources and people out there with programs that can help you do that. And so as long as you keep saying, "Oh, nobody's helping me," blame, blame, blame. You got to take charge of your own transition. Whether you're transitioned from the military 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you have got to do that because you got to make a decision on what you're going to do next. I was leaving one job. I had to make a decision on what I wanted to do next because I've done a lot of things and I can do a lot of things. But the question is really, should I be doing those things? So, what I love about this post that Marisol put out there, and I put it in the chat, is that what she's talking about, if you take your time and go through this message, it's again, her name is Marisol Maloney, and she is a recruiter. Go and read that. And then as you go through, take some little notes. What is it that you want to do? I mean, what you really, really, really want to do. You got to do some research. What do you want to do? What does that look like? So then, one of the my favorite things to give people to really do some research on jobs and what they're about is one simple thing. It's from the Department of Labor. It is the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Does that sound familiar? Didn't that sound like this book over here that I was talking about? The Handbook of Occupational Groups and Families. Why? Another government agency. My point is, This has been around a very long time. They've just digitized it. It used to be a 4 volume set that sat on the desktops of HR people everywhere. This is how they came up with their titles and position descriptions, duties, and responsibilities. This is all digitized. You just type in there the idea that you have. If you're not sure, they have, again, remember, they have occupational groups too. How easy is that? Right? They have occupational groups. So you say, well, I think I want to do something in business, and you click on business and it gives you a lot of examples. It tells you a few things: what the title is, what the job summary, what do they do, the entry level education requirement, the median income. And as you start to dig in and find out what these jobs are, this website will actually allow you to put in the zip code for where you are living or where you intend to live to give you information on the outlook of that job in that area. Why is this important? Because if you keep moving back home where you came from, where there are no jobs, you will be unemployed for a very long time. It makes no sense to go back to a place where you already know there's nothing there for you. You've been visiting your family for a long time. Let's go back to visiting people. Let's do that and find a place where you can thrive, because that's what we want to do. So I'm going to give you a bunch more tips. Um, Not really. I don't really do tips. I just wanted to say that to get it out of the way because I don't really do that. What I'm going to give you are some good resources. So, this particular document is created by a company that is contracted by the federal government, OPM, and they've broken down all these job groups, right? Family groups. And then they've given you some very good information when you talk about where can I find that job in the federal government. If you're going for an education job, you want to be a trainer, you want to be an instructor, you want to be an instructional designer, all those things. They're telling you right up front where you can find these jobs, which agencies, because that's the next step is the agency. What agencies are you targeting? Because you need to know where you're going, because you need to spend a considerable amount of time on their website to find out about their careers, to find out about their application process, to find out about how they do it. So, first, what are you doing? What was the first thing? We're identifying our hiring paths. The second thing, we're identifying the jobs we're going to get. The ones we qualify for, unless you want to start at entry level. Don't start at entry level. You'll be bored, and boredom causes problems. I know. The third thing is you need to focus on the agencies. What agencies are you going for? They're going to be the ones that you live near. So I have a very important tool that I use for that to help you. It's called the Yellow Pages. It's the book we used to sit on. I know. So it's all electronic. You just put in the zip code. The reason why I push this website is because it's the one place, and believe me, I have searched, that you can type in federal government and only get federal government agencies in that zip code. So that means that those are the agencies you're pretty much focused on because they're the ones nearby. That's how the federal government pretty much works. Yes, because of COVID, we have done a few extra things. We have more remote jobs than ever before. But still, there will never be more remote jobs than there are regular jobs in the federal government. There are certain agencies everybody can't work from home. There are certain jobs everyone can't work from home. It's just the way it is. So then, it's important that you focus in on the number one, your hiring paths and that you know them. Number two, the jobs that you can get that you're qualified for. And here's the biggest thing I can tell you. Under the standards tabs, under the classification section in the OPM website, all of these documents here, you're either going to get a fly sheet or a standard. They tell you the requirements of the job at the different grade levels. They tell you about the point system. You need to know that because you reverse engineer it. That's what you do. You basically say, I want to be a fireman. This is what the federal government says are the qualifications for a fireman. Do I have them? Yes, I do. Write it in my resume. Do I meet this requirement? I do. I've done that before. Write it in your resume. Your resume that's on USA Jobs in the resume builder, right? That's correct. So I am. I don't have any questions that I can see, but I do have a countdown going. So I have given you a lot of resources, but follow the path. Number one, choose your hiring paths, USA Jobs. Number two, OPM's website, look for the classification section, get a look at all of these jobs that are out there. Every job that's outside the that's out there in the world, and every job in the military is inside on the civilian side. Even if it's still with the DoD, it's still on the civilian side. So let's get it going. You know, choose your agencies wisely. If you don't agree with their mission and what they do, don't get involved. Don't do it. Just don't get involved. Likewise, if for whatever reason you start at an agency, but you see things are shifting a way you don't want to shift to, leave that agency. How can you do that? You do that using the system. It works every time. I have been in and out of the federal government because I understand the system and how it works. I have chosen to go down in grades and then go back to grades. Yes, I have skipped grades. And I did that because I qualify for higher grades and I know how to communicate that on my resume. I also only choose the jobs I feel passionate about, that I'm like, I can rock this job, I can do it, or it's because of the people I'm helping. Why? Because I'm all about helping other people. And anything else kind of goes against me as who I am and how I'm built. So that's what I'm about. What are you about? What are your values? What are the things that you look at? Do you want to be a cyber person? You know, you want to keep the world out of all these systems in the federal government. Whatever the thing is that you are passionate about, that is what you should be trying to do. I know that that was part of the conversations yesterday and somewhat today. What are you passionate about? If you don't enjoy getting up every day and going to do something, why are you doing it? You need to work with coaches. I know people say, oh, coaches are just out for money. No, coaches can help you get from A to Z so much faster than you would have ever figured it out on your own. That's just the way that is. They will give you insight and information to get you where you want to be. They will hold you accountable, help you put a strategy in place, a plan in place so that you can move on with your life. Enjoy it. Life is short. Life is short. Let's say you live 100 years. Depending on how old you are right now, you've already gone through part of that. So what do you want to do for the rest of it? Now let's just think, from 80 on to 100 that you really don't want to be bothered with anything. You want to do whatever you want to do. You may have some health concerns. So that means get it together now so you can get moving on what your real mission is in life. So I used to think I wanted to be a missionary. I got all that missionary training. I wanted to be an evangelist. I got all that evangelistic stuff. I did all of that stuff. And then I was told by someone very important in my world that guess what? Your mission field is wherever you go. It's every place that you go and every person that God gives me to take care of. So that's my whole mission. That's my whole mission. So it doesn't change if I'm working a job or if I'm doing my business or coaching or whatever it is I'm doing. I'm walking in Walmart, I'm walking down the street. People love to tell me everything, and I try and give them as much information as I can. And that's the librarian in me. So if you ask me something, I'm going to give you the full answer. Don't ask for one or two sentences. I'm going to give you all I know because that's my passion is share information. So I use okay, it's a little overkill. It can be overkill sometimes, but it's all from my heart and I mean well. I just want you to be successful and enjoy where you're going every day. That is a lot in this world. We have to work. Okay, we got to pay our bills. That's 40 hours. What are you doing with the other 100? Oh, let me subtract 128 because it's 168 hours in a week. What are you doing with them? I personally have to put in some Netflix time because I now have a little thing about TV. I never used to, but I watch a lot of TV thanks to COVID. Please, please, please make some decisions. We're adults. We need to make adult decisions because our decisions affect our children, our household, our future, our pensions, everything that we do, our community. If you're part of this community, we need each other more than ever. That means that whatever your role is and the thing is that you do, that they've decided you should do, I'll put that in there. That's what you should do. Do you think this is all that I do is federal stuff? It's not, it's not, it's not. But this is what I do because this is what people ask me for. I developed the system, I put it in place, it works, so why shouldn't I keep doing it for people? I don't do star. I don't do star and I don't do par. I don't do any of those things. Don, there's only one rule for me in this one place. I'm an OPM purist. It means that inside the USA Jobs, once you register and get your profile going, there's a place that you come to where it asks for your resume. You can upload any old little strange resume you want, but I don't recommend it. I recommend you click on build a resume. A whole format is there. You follow the format and fill in the blanks. How simple is that? You don't have to start from zero. You just copy and paste in the information you already have. That's where you start. That's where you start. So I'm going to drop a few things in here because I know my time is coming to an end. Number one, I would love to say everybody reach out to me and connect on LinkedIn, but I don't really want to do something like that because I can't manage it. So what I will say is, everyone, if you go to, well, if you're not on here and you're watching the replay, you should still be able to see this link. This link that I just put in there is the link to all of the webinars that I'm currently offering. They're free. There's only one on there that costs some money, and that's because it took a while to build that one. But all of these here, if it's according to your time zone, I'm adjusting myself to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to work with me on getting federal jobs. That means Alaska, that means Germany, Japan, everywhere at this point. Um, please, 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 it's free. How and I hate it. I know this is terrible of me, but yes, there are some people who offer some terrible quality free things. I don't. I don't believe in that. I believe that God gave me a gift to pull all this stuff together, and everything that I do is excellent, or I really don't want a part of it, to be honest. I've been this way my whole life. If it's not excellent, I'm not being a part of it. If I can't make it better and make it excellent, I'm not going to be a part of it. I just can't. So everything that I do is quality work. It will get you where you need to be. There are enough people to tell you that about me, um, on LinkedIn if you just want to go look at my profile and read my recommendations. I am all about getting you the job. I understand for veterans, especially, I know, here I go again. Sometimes the job is the difference between life and death. In our community, our suicide rates are higher than everybody else's community. And part of that is we lose our mission and we lose each other. That's why we have to stay connected. So, how do we stay connected? We stay connected by connecting. That's how we do it. And so there are two organizations that I always promote and always will. That's Vesta Industry, because they have incredible events that can help you connect with other veterans, network, connect with recruiters. You can do a lot of things from this website. The other part of it is this Find Resources Now. There is a library there, with a lot of vetted resources. So if you are homeless, if you are looking for a job, who can help you? This is a good place to start. The next website I will give you is not um, is I just for the record, I did activate my profile again. If for whatever reason you were on Veterati and you did not go back to reactivate your mentoring profile, I challenge you to do so now. People still need us like they needed us before. We need to do that. That's a plug for Dan Collins. So, Veterati, go do it. It's a mentoring website. It's where you can do your informational interviews. It is where you can get information that you need to get from A to Z much, much faster. Absolutely. The next thing I always offer is something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is our Sunday program. It is called Alfredo's Coffee House. And what do we do in Alfredo's Coffee House? We share. We establish relationships with one another. This is my squad. I didn't intend it to be that way. I didn't expect it to be that way. We did this simply because Alfredo has a very special kind of gift. His gift is number one, his gift is to share about the worst things that ever happened in his whole life with you so you don't ever have to go through them, and so that you will know that you can get through it and you're not alone. And he will give you some tips as you go through it. I'm sorry. I can't help but laugh when I think about Alfredo because he's just so funny to me. So I recommend everybody to join us on Sundays. I put in the link from LinkedIn. If anything I'm talking about interests you, for the most part, if you go to my LinkedIn page, you will find it in my featured section. All of us have these featured sections where if it's anything that we've put out there that we know can be impactful, that can give you what you need, we have listed them all here. Um, Please take the time to go through. You're bored, you have nothing else to do, go visit my featured section. It's a lot of things in there for veterans and non-veterans. Thanks, Brian. But you need to start building your squad up. We did not go through basic training by ourselves. I didn't even go to the bathroom by myself when I was in the military. Not one stinking time. That means that, you know what? They know something. They know we need support in every little thing. We need someone watching our back. We need someone to talk to cry to tell our terrible stories to explain about our whatever PTSD moods that happen. All of those things that happened to you in the before you went to the military, right? While you were in the military, and this struggle getting out of the military, which is transition is terrible. Don't do it by yourself. Um, we need people to go through that with us. It may not be the same people all the time, but we need each other. We need other veterans, especially. I have an awesome support system in my life, but now it's so much better because I have all these other veterans who are challenging me to do all these things. The reason why I'm on here right now is because my Sunday group challenges me to do different things. I would have just kept doing my little webinars. If Bruce hadn't pushed me out, hey Bruce, I always gotta say that's my favorite Marine. Um, if he hadn't encouraged me, and you know, it's one thing to encourage someone to send out one message, but he follows me. He pushes it out. Hope can help you. Hope can help you. Hope can help you. That man changed my whole life. One person changed my whole life. I went from maybe 20 people in my classes to well, a long waiting list in my classes. And that did something for me because this is all I ever wanted to do was to help people get federal jobs, especially veterans, because there's so many advantages for us to go into the federal service after we leave the military. One person can change your life. For me, it's a combination of people now that give me support. When I go somewhere and do something, they show up and support me. I appreciate that more than anything. There's some things I have only done because someone said they were going to be there for me, right? We all have our own issues. I'm a very confident person. I've been in a lot of different situations, and I thank God for that. At the same time, I still need support. I still have things that go on in my life I need to talk to people about. So as veterans, we still need to stick together. You need to have your squad of people who are going through life with you. Maybe different people will come at different times, situational. I get it. But we still need each other. You need to have your military group with you at all times. If something goes down right now, I can pick up my phone and text people and call people and say terrible things or get Alfredo to say curse words for me. I'm not good at cursing, but Alfredo is exceptional at it, and he communicates exactly what I'm thinking inside of myself at that time. We need people like that because even though I didn't get it out, he got it out for me. I still feel the same relief. Anyway, I'm saying all that to say this whole federal thing, you got to have a group. You got to have a squad of people. You got to have some people to help you. So I will help you. That's what I've been doing for a long time. If you will follow the process and do the work, you got to do the work because I'm not doing it for you. I don't do anyone's resumes unless you have a disability. If you have a developmental disability, if you have a traumatic brain injury, I will do your resume for you. We sit together, we walk through each section, and I will put it together for you. Those are the only people that I do that for. Everyone else, if you can follow a checklist, then you can do your own federal resume. Yeah, you can. Don't doubt it. That's what I want to change your mind about. That's why I call this changing your mind. After I've said all of this and told you about my classes, and told you about my checklist, I told you about my sad little forms that I created, that if you do the work, you'll be just fine. You can get the federal job. This is why you need to get the federal job because we have more money than ever before. Uh, there are more jobs ever. I mean, they haven't been filled. We had so many different things that happen that now is the time that the jobs are being posted. You will see a rapid increase as the money flows down from the new budget and spending plans. And there's just going to be more jobs. You got to position yourself to catch those jobs when they hit. You can't do a federal job, a resume overnight and actually expect to get the job. It's just not done that way. It's just not. So you got to plan ahead. If you want a job in 2023 in the federal government, you need to start planning today. As soon as you have the thought, you need to start working on your resume. That's just the way that is. There's no getting around it. There's no sugarcoating it, making sweet. You know, you can't throw a $500 at it and get someone to do your resume and it actually works. Let's just be honest. Even after you get it back, you're going to have to do something to it. But if you don't know what to put in it, and I have never met one of the resume builders out there, the federal resume people who actually use the standards. which means what are they basing all of that information on that they're putting in that resume? How do they know what to put in it as qualifying duties, responsibilities, experiences? How do they know? I don't know. But there's three people that you were writing this whole putting this whole package together for. The resume, that's for me. That's for the classifiers. It's very detailed and it tells us what you can do and at what level you can do it. The second group is the people who could potentially interview you and the hiring manager who will sign off and says, yes, we want you. All of the things in your resume should present your whole career, everything you've been doing, the training that you've had, the education that you've received. All of those things should be in there. How do you know what to put in a federal resume? It's very simple. Go to USA Jobs and follow the resume builder. That is how you know what to put in there and in what order, right? So let's go through it again. Number one, we're going to figure out our hiring paths. Number two, we're going to look at the job series to find out which ones we qualify for. Number three, we're going to focus on those agencies. Which agencies should we be looking at, right? But in the beginning, you got to figure out what you're going to do. That's where all these people who are out here willing to talk to you on Veterati to help you figure out that answer, that's where you win. It's too many resources. If you're post 9/11, you have so many organizations out there ready to help you. But we really need to know what you want to do in order to know where to send you. I don't know. If you said to me, Hope, I'm interested in project management, I said, go speak to Dan before you do anything. Dan Collins. Why? Because you need to speak to Dan Collins because that's what he's been doing for 30 years. He knows how to do that. He knows what to tell you, how to advise you, how to give you a strategy to win in that. And he usually talks people out of it. My point is, there's someone out there waiting to help you, but you can't just tell us help you. What do you need to know? Where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do? We don't know. We don't know. See how confusing that is? We don't know. So I didn't see anything, but I'm thinking my time is almost up. So if you have any questions, put them in there. I don't see any questions so far. I didn't see any questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I just clicked on something that said, oh, I think is that for me? Best practices to work with recruiters. You talking about federal recruiters? That's a whole nother slippery slope that I didn't cover. for getting overseas jobs. Is the process is the same no matter where the job is located? The process is the same. That's so Justin, that question you're asking me is a little too detailed for me to even try to answer here. So connect. I think we're already connected in LinkedIn, so we just need to spend some time answering the questions face to face. That's too complex. Oh, she says she has overseas jobs. A gap year and it was priceless. Yeah, gap years are fine. They have that in LinkedIn where you can put your gap year and what you did. That whatever you put in there is the same thing you put on a federal resume. Why do you have a gap? I have a 5 years I walked out of the work field. I didn't work. I was at home taking care of my dad. So yeah, I have a whole block there that talks about how I was a caregiver to a veteran who had dementia. I got 2 degrees. I homeschooled my kids, and that's what it says on my federal resume for those 5 years. I also did some volunteer work, but like stuff like this. But I probably didn't put that in there. But that looks like everything. That looks like all the questions that were there. So let me.
I think you caught everything.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right, so I think that's it because I just heard the magic voice. So I will stop sharing, and I just want to thank you so much for letting me talk about federal stuff because that's my thing, that's my jam. So I love any opportunity to do that.
No, and thank you so much for bringing your expertise to this room. It was obviously very, very needed and warranted. So thank you, Hope, guys. If you still have questions, which you may, please connect with Hope separately. Send her a message. You can direct message anybody in the event up on the People tab. So make sure you connect with her here or LinkedIn or someone else. And Hope, thank you so much for being here today. All right, guys, we got 4 minutes till the next session. So we are going to scoot on over. If you've got a quick sec, go visit our sponsors in their booths, and we'll see you there.